Wolverines or whatever you happen to call yourselves. Welcome to Wolverine State Sports Talk. And before I get on about the Michigan game, I'd like to talk about the Detroit Lions this weekend. I'll make a video about Michigan tomorrow. I just posted an article about them, so I'll get that going tomorrow. But talking about the Detroit Lions, I thought it was a great bounce back from last week, especially from Dan Campbell. And yes, Campbell was aggressive in this game like he was against the Bears. But here's the difference. The risk that he took was calculated, meaning you go for two when you're down by 1 point. It actually makes some sense because you don't like your chances in overtime, so you might as well take a 50-50 shot at getting it, and they got it. So had a 17-16 lead, and that was a big deal. And you just look at how this roster is played, despite all the injuries, despite the lack of talent on it. They actually did a very nice job defensively. When you consider the fact that Minnesota's running back Madison really only had one good carry all game. The rest of the game, he had 24 carries for 69 yards. That's 2.7 yards a carry. So outside of that 48-yard rush, the Lions' defensive linebackers did a pretty nice job. And the play where Madison took off, it was Derek Barnes making a rookie mistake. He's got time to learn. I'm going to give him a little bit of time before I pass judgment on him. But Alex Anzalone was absolutely tremendous. I can see exactly why Dan Campbell really likes him. Now that Collins is out of there, Anzalone's balled out, and he sure did today. He got an interception. He had a couple of tackles for a loss. He's been absolutely terrific since that Week 2 game against the Packers. So kudos to him. I think he can make the roster next year and possibly even stick as a starter. And then you look at the secondary. Justin Jefferson had his way in the first half, had over 100 yards. But in the second half, really didn't do a whole lot. And not much from this passing game after that, except for the very last drive. It's really a shame that Adam Thielen had those two catches late in the game, because otherwise he did absolutely nothing all game. Bobby Price did a tremendous job covering. Really, it was a great game from this defense. Now offensively, the Lions' offensive line is depleted with injuries, and I get it. But they still ran the ball decently. 24 carries for 108 yards, 4.5 yards a carry. That still was good enough to get the job done. So the running back core, the line, still has been pretty decent all year. And you know my opinions on Jared Goff. He is who he is at this point. He struggled, but even then, we still had some guys step up. So considering how young this roster is, how depleted it is, and the lack of talent on the roster, I'd say this was a great game from Campbell and Holmes. But I'm going to give it an A-, and here's why. Again, you're in a situation at 17-16, late in the game. The strategy you tried against the Ravens didn't work. Rushing three, dropping people back. The Lions, for whatever reason, don't do well with zone coverage deep down the field. You look at Will Harris, he struggled at the strong safety spot, and they either go too deep or they aren't quite deep enough. And I think on Adam Thielen's two catches, linebacker depth was the real problem. But the fact of the matter is you've really struggled with this. And I understand if you're Aaron Glenn why you want to get the Lions to a high level running this prevent zone defense, because it's effective when you need it to be. The only problem is coming into this game that this team has struggled with zone all season. And even though these guys have also struggled with man, what they should have done is stick with the defense they've been playing all game, which was sort of a man-zone concept, and it was doing a great job. I think if they stick with that, they have a much better chance of winning the game and keeping that 17-16 lead than losing it. But I'll say this too, that's part of being a new coach. Aaron Glenn has never called plays before. Dan Campbell, this is his first year being a head coach, so players are going to make rookie mistakes, and so are coaches. We got to understand that. So that's something that needs to be fixed as the year goes on. And lastly, a lot of people really are making fun of this team and making fun of the fan base for being 0-5. I look at it as this way. I think that you can't really judge this particular team off of wins and losses because there's just not enough talent on this roster, not enough experience, and this team wasn't built to win now. That was not the goal of this season. If it was, we wouldn't have gotten rid of Stafford or Galladay or Jones because our receiving core is nowhere near that. And no disrespect to St. Brown and Cephas. Cephas hurt for the year. That stinks. I wouldn't mess with that. I would rest him the rest of the year. But going off of that, this team wasn't built to win now. So the only way you can judge this team is how hard are they going to play. And today they played for 60 minutes. I mean, they played a pretty decent game, even when they were down 16-6. Other than Jared Goff, most of the team put together a strong performance. So I was impressed with what the team was able to do this week. And I'll say this too. I kind of had mixed feelings about Coach Campbell crying after the game, because you understand that Saban and Belichick, they're usually not sad after the game. They're angry, they're upset. But here's the thing. If you're Campbell, you can't pretend to be someone that you're not. And I believe sincerely that he's not trying to do that. He's trying to be himself. He's trying to be organic. And he really wants these guys to win. He understands that this is a young team full of guys that haven't played much before. And they really busted their tail out there today. And I understand this is a sport where you make $1 million. But it doesn't change the fact that these guys want to win. So hopefully they'll come back ready to play the rest of the season. And we'll find out how authentic those tears were if the Lions can continue to play like this the rest of the year, meaning they play 60 minutes, don't make stupid mistakes to beat themselves, and they do whatever they can to win the game. And the only reason they should be losing games is because they're not talented enough. And today that's the reason they lost, because they're not talented enough. And they almost pulled out. Would have been a great upset against a team that's severely more talented than they are. All right, thank you all for watching. I'll get a video about the Wolverines tomorrow, and you all have a good night. Let's enjoy this Pistons preseason game together. All right, go Lions. Take care.